So I wasn't really planning on making this particular video today. It hadn't even occurred to me that I would be making this video because this isn't the kind of video I normally do. But last night I went to bed and I was thinking about the story of Joseph in the Old Testament and how the 7 years of plenty came, and remember, he was a second to Pharaoh in the land, and he built these store cities and stored up food for the people up against the time when they would have the 7 years of famine. The thought occurred to me as I'm mentally rehearsing the story in my mind that by the time the famine was getting, really bad, the people had sold everything for food. So they sold their livestock, they sold everything, their land, and then ultimately they sold themselves for food. And what I want to do is read the passage from Genesis that I'm referring to, and then I want to make some comments. This video is kind of sort of in response to an agenda that's out there right now from really, I think, people who love the Lord, well-meaning Christians, well-meaning people who, they care about believers, but they think that this, this jab is the mark of the beast. And they are very adamant about that. I don't have any doubts that the intentions of these people are good, but they don't know the book of Revelation. They don't understand what is actually really happening here, and they don't have a clue about what the great deception is going to be. So one of the things that I talk about a lot is the harlot. The harlot is this present world system that we're living under right now. And the Bible attributes to the harlot the fact that she kills thousands and thousands of Christians. She is drunk with the blood of the saints. That is never said about the beast. The beast is never said to be drunk with the blood of the saints. He'll behead people, he'll have them beheaded, Christians will be killed, but the harlot is the one who is going to be killing believers, by the hundreds and millions, I believe. That's what it says in Revelation. Never says that the beast is drunk with the blood of the saints. The harlot is. The harlot system, okay, the beast has a kingdom. He's a king of this kingdom. The harlot is a city, okay? It's Babel. Babel was never judged in the Old Testament. Babel was just, the judgment of Babel was put off until the end. And the people who were rebels, the people of Babel who were rebels against God, they followed after Nimrod, who was the Old Testament sort of archetype of the Antichrist. They followed after him. But these rebels were trying to build the city and make a name for themselves. They were trying to go against the commands of God, what God had said, spread out over the earth, multiply, and so on. And so God came down. And whenever you see God coming down, or seeing what's going on, he's about ready to destroy somebody. Whether it's the people at the time of the flood or it's Sodom and Gomorrah, God shows up or God looks at what's happening. In the case of Babel, God did not destroy Babel. He merely scattered the people. He confused their languages, and so people spread out over the whole earth. But even though you can take the people out of Babel, you can't take Babel out of the people. So no matter where the people spread over the whole earth, they took the ideas and the rebellion of Babel with them. And this is how that great city could be spread over the whole earth. And there's a system of control that operates in secret. It's a mystery. It's mysterion. It's this secret agenda that's always hidden beneath the surface that has been moving Satan's plan forward. Satan has been planning for this day that's coming up. In fact, the day when his fake son is going to begin his rule. Okay, Satan has been planning for this for thousands of years. Okay, thousands of years. He has an agenda, and he's been very successful. Right now, Satan is using the harlot, which I call the New World Order, which is not really new. It's been around since, like I said, Babel. It's only now, though, just coming to the surface where it's visible, where people can see, some of the agenda that's been at play. And the agenda really is to diminish population. People will talk about how God has a plan for your life, and this plan has been in existence since before you were born, since before God created Adam and Eve. And they'll talk about the plans that men make, but you have to realize Satan has a plan too, and it is a long-term plan. But I felt I really needed to put this out there today so that you can see how the deception is already being pushed out there by Christians. It is just like really sad. Okay, it's the scriptures are coming true. So let's take a look at Genesis 47:13 through 23, and we'll see how this is going to play out in the very near future. Now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe. I'm just going to stop there. Do you know that when the seals begin to be opened, that there's going to be this giant famine in the land? Do you know that a lot of this famine that we're experiencing now with the supply chain disruptions and all of that, the plagues with the animals where they have to be destroyed, whether they're pigs or poultry, having farmers plow under their crops or destroy milk, all of this is part of a planned famine. Okay, I believe this is part of a plan. It's a bigger plan to make people hungry. Okay, so here in the land of Egypt, back in Bible days, the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan in exchange for the grain that they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Okay, now I just want you to understand, God sent Joseph to spare the ancient world. And Joseph is a type of Christ. So Joseph is a good guy. And he was doing all of this because God planned it that way. But Satan reads the Bible too, and he can use it as his own playbook as to how he's going to do things. And I believe this is a pattern for how Satan is going to entrap people during the reign of the beast. So Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt. And verse 15, and when the money was all spent in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? For our money is gone." And Joseph answered, "Give your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock if your money's gone." So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them food in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the herds, and the donkeys. And he supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock that year. And when that year was ended, they came to him the following year and said to him, "We will not hide from my lord that our money is all spent. The herds and livestock are my lord's. There's nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for food, and we with our land will be servants to Pharaoh. Give us seed that we may live and not die, and that the land may not be desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. He bought it for Pharaoh. For all the Egyptians sold their fields because the famine was severe on them. The land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he made servants of them from one end of Egypt to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had a fixed allowance from Pharaoh and lived on the allowance that Pharaoh gave them. Therefore, they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Behold, I have this day bought you and your land for Pharaoh." So by the time the famine wasn't even over, it was partially into the famine, the 7 years of famine, Pharaoh owned everything. All the livestock, all the money, all the land, and to all the people. This, my friends, is a shadow of the future. Only instead of a good Joseph wanting to save many people alive, this is a bad Joseph who is a type of the Antichrist, or instead of Christ. Joseph is a type of Christ, and the Antichrist is going to use this example, or should I say Satan is going to take this example from the Bible as part of a playbook and use it during the time of the end. Once the beast begins to reign, he is going to buy people. He's going to buy people. What will happen is by the time the beast has begun to reign, we will have already had trumpets 1 through 6. Read Revelation and you'll see what happens with those. A third of the earth is destroyed. A third of the landmass of the earth is destroyed, and parts of the ocean too. A third of the oceans. When the seals come into play, you're going to have famines, war, pestilence, destruction. And finally, at the 6th trumpet, you're going to have a third of the world's population that are killed by fire, smoke, and sulfur so bad that no one will ever be able to live in those places ever again. So by the time the beast begins to reign, there isn't going to be any food. There aren't going to be any real jobs. There isn't going to be life as we know it here. The world is going to be a wasteland, an absolute wasteland full of destruction and people who have died, people who are martyred by the harlot. Before this even happens, before the beast begins to reign, there are already martyrs in heaven who were martyred by the harlot during this 10-day purge that we read about in Revelation chapter 2. There's going to be great tribulation for Christians. 10 days of it before the reign of the beast even begins. And remember, the beast hates the harlot. He and the 10 kings are going to destroy the harlot with fire, smoke, and sulfur, along with 4 angels released from the river Euphrates, a 200 million man army. And this is all part of God's plan, who has set this into the mind of the beast and the 10 kings to do this. And it's part of his judgment that didn't take place on Babel thousands of years ago. Right now, there are seed banks, seed vaults that are all over the world. And there's the Svalbard Global Seed Vault that's in Norway. From Wikipedia, it's built inside a sandstone mountain in a man-made tunnel on the frozen Norwegian island of Spitsbergen, about 1,307 kilometers from the North Pole. It's cold. It's designed to survive catastrophes such as nuclear war. It's operated by the Global Crop Diversity Trust. The area's permafrost will keep the vault below freezing point of water, and the seeds are protected by 1-meter thick walls of steel reinforced concrete. There are 2 airlocks and 2 blast-proof doors. The vault accepted its first seeds on January 26, 2008. The Millennium Seed Bank is located in the UK, and Australia has one too, known as the Australian Grains Gene Bank. Okay, there's more seed vaults than just these, but these are the big ones. And in addition to seed vaults, there are deep underground military bases called DUMBs, and they're all over the world. It's been suggested that there's about 120 of them here in the United States, and they're all over the world. They're everywhere. Okay, there's probably hundreds of them. Even though this sort of sounds like a conspiracy theory, like it's, can't possibly be true, it is true. And you can do research on this and you'll find numerous articles written about these deep underground military bases where the powers that be have been storing food and tools and machinery and seeds and all kinds of things for years. for years. When the catastrophe hits, they talk about nuclear war or whatever, there's going to be catastrophe. And the powers that be, the people in positions to know, they know it. And Satan knows it for sure. They know that something is coming. And that's why they've invested billions of dollars in creating these deep underground military bases. So when this catastrophe happens, which I believe is going to be part of the stuff that we read about in the book of Revelation with the trumpets and the seals, that when this happens, these resources that are in those underground bases are going to be made available to the elite, of course, politicians and the rich men of the earth. But I believe that this is how Satan is going to trap people. He's going to make the resources, the food, the supplies that are in these deep underground storage houses. And remember, the population of the earth is going to be way down. I don't even know that there's going to be 1 billion people left on the whole planet by the time the first 5 seals and the first 6 trumpets are blown. The population will be greatly reduced. Of course, the rich people are going to eat. They're going to have food from these underground bases. But there's going to come a time when, there's going to be people on earth too that are going to be needing food. And this is how I believe, this is just my thoughts, okay? But I believe this is how Satan is going to purchase people for himself. And remember, in the Bible, the Pharaoh is most often a type of Satan. You're going to need to pay allegiance to the beast, who is that false Christ, who is going to open up the storehouses of food, but only to those who have sold themselves to him. As evidence of allegiance to the beast, people will be marked on their right hand or their forehead. If you do have the mark, you're going to have access to the necessities of life. If you don't have the mark, you're on your own in terms of survival. No one is going to have access to any of these resources unless you're a part of the group, unless you're part of, the beast's false millennial reign, and then you will have access to those things if you take the mark. The vaccine is not the mark. The mark, when it comes, people are not going to have to be persuaded to take it. You're not going to be persuaded to take it. And by the way, there aren't going to be any jobs by the time the mark comes. There's going to be absolute total destruction on the earth. All that's left is going to be survival. Now, there may be, people who are going to be set up as distributors. They're going to distribute the food that's been stored in these underground bases or bunkers. And if you want to purchase the food from people who are the distributors, you're going to have the mark. You can't buy or sell unless you have it. That is, you're not going to have access to this, to these resources unless you're a part of the club. You have to be part of the beast kingdom to get any of this. And nobody's going to have to be talked into it, persuaded to do it. People will gladly take the mark if it means their families can eat. So, this false Christ will have just been hailed as the newly resurrected king who can make war against him. All right, who can make war against him? The harlot can't. The harlot was destroyed. The harlot and all of her, with everything that goes with it, is destroyed by the beast. Who can make war against the beast? The answer is, well, we know who can. That's Jesus. But the answer is basically nobody. So all that's left now is the beast and his kingdom. And Satan, by the way, by the time the beast rises from the dead on first fruits, Satan will have just been cast out of heaven. Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. His angels will be cast out with him. These are angels. These are not, they're beautiful. And so when Satan comes disguised as an angel of light in all of his beauty and his glory that he still possesses, by the way, and all of these angels with him and this newly resurrected man, this is going to look like the second coming of Christ, and people are going to believe that this guy is like, he's like the one. He's the one, all right? Like in the movie The Matrix about Neo. Are you the one? The one who's going to rule all of this? You know, even people who were atheists aren't going to be atheists anymore. They're going to, you know, beat down the door to worship this guy. And even Christians, if they don't know the Bible, okay, you got to know the Bible. If you don't know the Bible, you can be deceived by this stuff. It's possible to be deceived at that time. But only if you want to be deceived. That's the thing. If you love the truth, you're not going to be deceived. You're going to understand what's going on. But the false Christ, who will have just been raised from the dead, who in conjunction with what looks like the second coming of Christ with all these angels, this is going to be a satanic, upside down version of Joseph, who is a type of Christ. And he's going to provide for his newly acquired people, just like those people during the days of Joseph who sold themselves to Pharaoh so that they could eat. Taking the mark is going to appear to be the most expedient, normal, natural, and smart thing to do, and only idiots or Christians will refuse to take the mark. This is a trap to ensnare humanity. But there's going to be warning ahead of time that this trap is about to be sprung. Revelation 14, verses 6 through 12. Then I saw another angel flying directly overhead with an eternal gospel to proclaim to those who dwell on earth, to every nation, tribe, and language and people. So everybody is going to hear about this. God will make sure about it. Every tribe, people, and language. And he said with a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and the springs of water." So when you see the word hour in the book of Revelation, this is referring to the hour that the harlot is destroyed at the sixth trumpet. She's destroyed in 1 hour on a single day. In an hour, a day, month, and year that has already been predetermined by God. And the beast and the 10 kings are given authority for 1 hour to destroy the harlot. This is the hour that this is going to happen. The hour of his judgment, God's judgment on Babylon, is going to happen. And another angel, a second, followed, saying, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, she who made all nations drink the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality." And we're talking about spiritual immorality. And when the angel says that Babylon has fallen, this is not prophetic looking to the end. This means Babylon is even now has fallen. This present world system is gone. And then the third angel is going to talk about the new system that is about to be set up. And a third followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger. And he'll be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, these worshipers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name." Verse 12, very important verse. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. "And I heard a voice from heaven saying, 'Write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them.'" There is a blessing that's being put on people who will choose to be beheaded by the beast rather than try to save or spare their life. There's a blessing. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. It's going to be very dangerous to be alive if you're a Christian. And the scriptures are telling us that, go ahead. If this means it's going to cost you your life to not take the mark of the beast, go ahead, because you're going to be blessed and you're going to rest from your labors and God is going to remember your deeds. And so this is the group that we see in Revelation chapter 20, who when they're resurrected, having been beheaded by the beast, they will rule and reign with Christ on the earth. So for left behind believers, and by the way, there will be believers on earth at this time, the time that the beast begins to reign. Some of these people will have been left behind at the time of that first rapture, when the child is caught up to God and to his throne. That child that's equated with the 24 elders sitting in the throne room of God on their thrones. Okay, for this group of people, the option of death, the people who are left behind after that rapture, this is the best option in terms of one's eternal soul. And this voice from heaven assures believers that there's a reward if you're willing to lay down your life. The warning is clear, it's unmistakable, it's given to all peoples, nations, tribes, tongues, and languages, that it will take place at the time that Babylon is destroyed, when Babylon has fallen. Everyone is warned that if you do this, if you take the mark of the beast, or worship the image of the beast, or worship the beast, that you're going to suffer the fate of the beast and the false prophet and Satan, which is an eternity in the lake of fire. And by the way, that place is prepared for the devil and his angels. It was never meant for people. So those people who take the mark are going to share the fate of the beast and Satan and the false prophet. Okay, to take the mark means that you are identifying with that individual, that being, and his kingdom. And whatever happens to him is going to happen to you as well. This jab that's being promoted right now, even though it's mandatory, it is not the mark. It is a deceitful mark, though. It's a fake mark. It's getting people to believe that the beast is already here and that, you're going to lose your eternal soul if you take the jab. Okay, the harlot is putting that out. This is the harlot's thing. It's not the beast thing. The beast has not begun to reign. The harlot is doing this. It's the New World Order that's doing this. And just because it's the harlot that's doing it doesn't make it good. I'm not telling anyone that this experimental gene therapy is a good thing to do. I'm not promoting or telling anybody to do it, but it's not the mark. It is not the mark. There is going to be a whole slew of deceptions that lead people to believe that the harlot is the beast and attribute the things that the harlot is doing to the beast, so that when the beast arrives, he's going to look like Jesus. He's going to look like he's Christ, and he's going to be passed off as though he were Christ. And there's so many false signs and miracles and wonders that are taking place, that including his resurrection from the dead and this, angels coming to earth in a heavenly host. And the sky will have already gone to dark and the moon to blood from the events that have taken place with the trumpet judgments. People are going to think, yeah, this must be Jesus. This must be the real thing. And, even though we didn't believe in Jesus before, we do now. This, my friends, is the great deception. This is the great deception. The jab is nothing except a setup to get people believing that the beast is already here, when in actuality, it's the New World Order, the harlot, which is a very old world order. So Satan is called the deceiver of the whole world, and he is deceiving people in so many ways right now, and Christians are not exempt from that deception. So the only antidote we have to the deception is the Bible, is understanding the Bible. Okay, and I'm going to be doing some more videos on looking at the end times, looking at end time words, and seeing how the Bible uses them. So I hope you'll share this video. No offense to anybody who's been promoting the V as the mark of the beast, and you're entitled to think and believe what you want. This is sort of a free country. Anyway, you're a free moral agent. You can do what you want. But I am not changing my mind on this at all. This is part of how Satan is deceiving the world. you take this to prayer. You make this a matter of discernment, and we'll see you on another video, hopefully really soon. I got to finish my canning over there, and we'll talk to you later. Have a blessed day.